calling the Planning and Zoning Board meeting to order.
Without a quorum.
Oh, you were standing here and I was counting you.
No.
No, we're short one member. We're going to have to wait until the fourth member shows up.
I came in here. They can make it.
It's fun.
Might be surprised at the traffic out there. Boy, that traffic is something. That's why I like coming back and forth. There's a little luster there. Ain't no-
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, sir. You just pull them out.
Okay. Y'all can all applaud when he shows up.
Be real awkward.
That's right. Bet he won't show up late again.
Make them buy the drinks and it's a certainty.
Sorry.
Proud, man. Proud.
Give you a moment to settle in.
I'm good. Thank you.
We'll make it short. I just thought, I said, what is it? What am I forgetting?
If we'll stand, we'll have the communication first.
Lord, let us realize that the time is always right to do what is right and equip us with the means to be decent people, do the right thing. Bless our deliberations this day so that we may wisely serve the citizens of our city. In God we pray, amen.
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 Marshall? Will you
Mr.
call the
Lydic?
roll?
Mr. Lydic,
Here.
Mr. Cooper, here. Mr. Nelson,
Here.
Mr. George Ellis.
Here. Has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes of our last meeting?
Yes, ma'am.
Any changes, corrections, amendments?
I move that the minutes be adopted as presented.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Minutes are adopted, Marshall.
Yes, ma'am.
The first item of business is site plan review for Lake City self-storage. Do we have a representative here this evening to speak to this item?
She just stepped out, Ms. Megan.
Oh, yes. Hi, sorry about that.
Your name and address are,
Carol Chadwick, 1208 Southwest Fairfax Glen, Lake City, Florida.
raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth to the best of your knowledge and information this evening.
Yes.
And you are here to discuss the Lake City Public Works Phase 2.
Yes, the owner is looking to put in an additional 3 buildings with, paving. And, I guess you see the plans, really pretty self-explanatory. We're working with Swanee River on, making sure that the drainage permits are up to date.
You don't have those yet?
No, not yet. I had a conference with them yesterday. They had a few more questions. And obviously, we know even if we did get approval from Lake City, we cannot start any construction without their permit also.
So the storage business must be good.
I believe it is. I know that they are anxious to get started with this, and there have been a few delays because of certain things here.
Anything other than the water management permits that
No, that's it. Just the site plan approval, hopefully from Lake City tonight, and then as soon as we get approval from Swanee River, then construction would begin.
And the drawings included in the package were cut off just a little bit. The edge here, we're only talking 3 structures, is that correct? The far end of that. And that's with extending the existing basin, or the existing basin is already sitting there as is?
Well, that's what we're working on. The existing basin was not built correctly. It was, not built per plan, and so that's what we're working on to get the permits from Swanee River to build it to its original, size.
Where's the water gonna go? That's always the question.
Right, and
Does anyone else need to see the complete drawing?
I'd like to see it.
You wanna see it?
Yeah, I'd like
You
to see
send that down.
it. What was their indication what they had to do with the basin to make it adequate? Did they give you an idea of what they're gonna?
we are going to need to rerun the calculations because the original construction permit for the basin expired in the year 2000. And for some reason, it was never transferred to operations, which would have allowed us to go ahead and just do that. So now we have to rerun them.
And so was it the land mass size or the depth? I mean, do you have?
It was the size.
In order.
Yeah, it is. What we're going to do, if you can see on that, at the end of the paved over where part of the basin should be, part of the pavement's gonna be removed.
Okay.
Make the basin the size that's adequate to meet current standards.
Oh, that's good.
And then put in new concrete flumes.
Thank you.
Are there further questions or information needed from the board? Anyone else here this evening to speak to this item? There being no further comments,
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
comments are closed. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously approved.
Yes, ma'am.
On item number SPR 2201, we voted to close. We have to vote. All in favor of approving SPR 2201?
Prior to that, during discussion amongst board, city have any heartburn about any of this?
No, sir.
Awesome. I'm satisfied.
Satisfied.
SPR 2201 unanimously approved. Number 2 on our list this evening is Sunstock, SPR 2203.
Dalton Kurtz, North Florida Professional Services Project Manager. My home address is 21313 180th Street, Live Oak, Florida, 32060.
Excellent. That's what I was looking for.
I understand during the plan submittal process, the plans themselves will get cut off. Print 8.5 by 11.
You swear the information you provide this evening be true and correct to the best of your knowledge.
I do.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, in case the plan's been cut off, I've got a full set right here in front of me. But what you have in front of you is an existing fuel station that is now owned by Southwest Georgia Oil Company, formerly an SNS. It is located immediately south of the US 441 and I-10 interchange. It is going to be completely demolished and rebuilt with a combination Sunstock convenience store and Wendy's attached, similar to the same setup they have over in Ellisville off I-75 and 441. There are currently 8 fuel pumps and 4 diesel pumps, 4 to 5. Occasionally one of them breaks and it doesn't work. And we will be replacing that with 9 diesel pumps, I believe 12 gas pumps. It is currently, with the existing stormwater management system, 2.68 acres of impervious, 5.77 acres of impervious out there. On January 28th of this year, resubmitted to the Water Management District the environmental resource permit. We submitted the first one, got the RAI, sent it back to them. So hopefully this go around, we've got it all figured out. We've already had a site visit, already met with them. We have applied for and received the RAI with DOT because they, as you can see on the handout, we're removing the existing southernmost driveway and moving it farther south to get it in compliance with DOT driveway spacing, with it being off of the state highway. The only other outstanding permits are with you guys. That is the gist of it. Any questions or comments?
And you said you've already received preliminary approval from WMD?
Not preliminary, we've gotten the first response for additional information, request for additional information. There's just things on the plans they didn't see or didn't understand, so we had to clarify some things. That was sent back to them on January 28th, so ideally, by February 28th, I'll either receive a second RAI or permit approval.
The 80-foot by 15-foot parking spots to the north and the east of the property, are those intended for overnight heavy truck
Correct.
occupancy?
Correct.
And will this also call for the reconfiguration and reconstruction of the electrical vehicle charging station, or is that going to remain the same?
No, that's being moved farther south. They have, the equipment size that they put on them now is significantly smaller than what it used to be, so they're pitching, increasing that from a 4-stall EV charging area to a 6-stall EV charging area. That one is still up in the area, still up in the air. because moving that station is already pretty cost prohibitive. So they're still wrangling that idea. At bare minimum, it will be getting moved and the 4 spaces will be getting put in there. The original plan was to just keep all the electrical equipment, move everything further south. But the company who owns the station is Electrify America. So they're the ones footing the bill, and it's on them. So they want to spend that money, put all new equipment, get 2 extra spaces. Regardless, the footprint is going to stay the same. It won't be any larger than it is right now.
Further questions or comments from the board?
No, I'm satisfied.
Any comments from the audience this evening? No. No further public comments. Motion to close.
Second.
Public comments are closed.
Marshall? Thoughts from the city?
We're good with it.
This isn't going to in any way impact any sort of, I mean, obviously, we rerouted the entrance and the exit openings to conform to DOT, but increasing the capacity isn't going to do anything based on the DOT report?
No.
That's
Not at all.
Since 441 is a DOT road.
just gotta make sure we're not the last stop. It has to go.
Next item on the agenda, is SBR 2204. Oh, budget approved.
That's always helpful.
We left you hanging.
Mr. Laddick,
Yay.
Cooper. Mr. Nelson,
Yeah,
Ms. Georgelis.
Yes. So SBR 2203 site stop has been approved. The next item on the agenda is the Lake City Hotels, SBR 2204.
Hello, Mayor. My name is Christopher Gamir. I'm the engineer of record and agent for the applicant for the property.
Your address for secretary?
Yes, my name is Chris Gamir. I'm at 1934 North 24th Street, Gainesville, Florida.
And just where the information you provide this evening to be true and correct to the best of your knowledge.
I do, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
I do have a colored print.
Well, we'll just
From the water.
pass it around. This is wonderful.
So the site was formerly the RV In and Out Park that was right there with the gas station up front. Back in 2017, we started design to completely demo the site and master plan it for a grouping of 3 or 4 hotels. And we got the first, the entire site plan was permitted by the Water Management District, where we have that permit in hand. We have immediate improvements in US 90 that was approved by FDOT, so we have that permit in hand. And we already installed all the sewer, water mains, gas mains for all that master plan infrastructure. And so they're finally building the first hotel on the site.
You've done everything. What are we going to fuss with you?
I hope so. My mom taught me really well. But the biggest portion is that this is the first of probably 3 others. We're already planning the second hotel. Probably in the next 6 months, we'll have plans in front of you all for the second hotel that's going in. Apparently, they're doing really well with that site. It just got put on hold with COVID and everything else. They just put all those hotel plans on hold at the time.
Do you have a master plan of the finish?
Ooh, I do not have that with me.
What's it gonna look like?
I was on the board back then. Marshall should be able to go back in the records. I think this would have been about 2017 when we saw this.
That's exactly right.
And he can probably email you a copy of that. It's the first two hotels were flanking on either side of a restaurant structure.
Correct. So they are planning a restaurant at the front, sort of where the old gas station was up front there, but that's not picked out yet. And then the hotels are more central because nowadays you don't really need to see the hotel you want to go and stay at. You typically book ahead of time, you kind of know where you're going. So the hotels will actually be in the center of the site. So if you see on that colored plan, essentially that first hotel is sort of in the middle. Think of that as like one with a grouping of four. They'll sort of share a courtyard in the middle, if you will, with parking around the entire outside. Because again, they're going to need a lot of shared parking. You know,
So has the master plan changed a bit since 2017 then?
that's basically what the master plan showed at the time.
Maybe I'm confusing the shared patio with the shared dining establishment then.
Maybe so. I know that on that master plan, they showed like a tiki bar at the very south side. We'll see how realistic that ends up being when we come in with the second phase of the hotel. But again, the first hotel is following that master plan. It's sort of the first in that grouping of four hotels in the middle. We moved the stormwater pond, serving as the master pond, to the southeast. It was over here, moving to the southeast. But again, all that's been approved. All the utilities have been installed. It's shovel ready for.
Are the hotels all the same size?
No, I think actually different brands, different things, because they're trying to hit different price points, amenities, all that kinds of things. Another thing that the owners provide with the Holiday Inn next to them is a lot of emergency response capacity. So when there's hurricanes, they'll have FEMA, state, other agencies stage at these hotels when they're figuring out, okay, do they go south of 75, east on I-10, west on I-10? And so this becomes a very important staging area for a lot of emergency facilities.
Is it the same owner as La Quinta?
Yes, it is. Yes, sir. Maybe not the legal entity per se, but the same owners involved.
Right.
Do we have further comments?
Yes. Yes, Madam Chair. Looking at your transportation plans here, obviously we're only seeing snippets and I don't want to necessarily pull out the large rolls. Have you already received for not only this hotel, but refresh my memory, has the master plan received full DOT concurrence for your proposed ingress and egress?
Correct. The master plan, which was initially submitted to FDOT and everyone else, had traffic calculations for the full build out. That's why it's directional median opening. It's not just a plain driveway. That's why we weren't allowed to put back the driveways that were sort of there with the existing gas station. Because the gas station RV park had a lot of trips associated with them originally. So I could imagine if we were only proposing that first hotel at the time when we did all those permitting, we would probably not even have to do major modifications to that median opening. But as you can see, the colorized plan is probably pretty clear. You will not be able to make a left turn out of this facility. For safety purposes, they've made it directional. You can only make a right turn out. Only way you can come into the site is to make a left turn in with those pork chop intersections in the middle. And that's gone through FDOT review, and because we were changing median and driveway connections, we had a public meeting at the library. This was several years ago. And so it's just a big safety upgrade in general because of the quantity of traffic that could be coming from these groups of hotels.
Yes, the color ones jog in my memory now, because I do remember, I think we'd approved the master plan contingent on adding the rear connection to the common road leading between the Longhorn Olive Garden and the Days Inn over there.
Maybe so. Again, I'm in the weeds, so to me that's always been a part of it. But because they own all of it, they're all interconnected, and so they want to have those connections to the west. Because again, hotels, you can have one hotel that gets booked and its parking lot just fills up. I mean, how many times have you gone into a hotel and you're looking around saying, where am I supposed to park? So that's what they're taking advantage of, is the shared parking between all the different hotels.
I do remember that now. I think that was something we had asked for.
But it's definitely there now.
It's definitely there now.
Which is good. Sure.
Thank you. Further comments or questions?
Do you know if management will have, openings where there could probably be some renting out of a conference room, conference area, or anything like that?
Oh,
To the
that's
general public?
very typical for almost all hotels. Yes. Yes, I know the existing Holiday Inn has conference rooms. Every time we go to meet with the clients, we usually meet there. Yeah, it's very common. They're not as big as they used to be. And definitely, we've seen less and less hotels that have the big conference centers. You know, that's usually not as common as it used to be anymore. That's a great question.
And you give out free masks. Further comments? Anyone from any comments? We have no further comments. May I have a motion to close comments?
Motion to close public hearing?
All in favor? May I have a,
Know what I'm gonna ask?
We're good with it.
Don't want to burn over at the city?
We're good.
All right, all departments said it's okay.
Yes, sir. We're good.
I know.
I think that's my job.
Always gotta ask. Because how many times have we seen where something, oh, well, there was this one thing.
Vote for SBR 2204, motion for approval. Second. Unanimous approval, SBR 2204, Marshall.
Mr. Lavin,
Yay.
Mr. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Nelson,
Yay.
Ms. Georgia.
Yes. SBR 2205, Lake Medical Center Emergency Dietary Expansion and Site Plan Review, SBR 2207 for the Ancillary Building.
Good evening, Jill Adams, CEO, Lake City Medical Center, 6834 Northwest 44th Street, Phoenix, Florida.
Chris Akers with Kimley Warrant. We're the civil engineer of record for the project. I'm also helping build on the project. Address is 10 Lee Avenue, Suite 400, Nashville, Tennessee, 37210.
Raise your right hands. You swear the information you provide this evening to be true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. Now, tell us a little bit about your project.
What we have proposed this evening is two different projects. One is an exterior emergency department expansion about on the southwest corner of the site. If you're facing the main entry, it's located just to the left. And there's also some internal improvements with that for dietary as well as pharmacy and internal renovations. And the second project is for what we're calling an ancillary building. It's basically a prefabricated building located just across from the existing loading dock. And it's going to allow the facility to have additional materials management and support for the facility regarding deliveries and then that sort of thing. And that's located on basically the west side of the campus, on the back side, across from on the existing loading dock. I have I'm not sure what you're looking at there. I do have 11 by 17s that may help a little bit.
Much better.
So I didn't bring that.
Better than that.
So on these actually have there were some park calculations. These are some site. This is the emergency department expansion. And also associated with the emergency department expansion is a relocated helipad from the back of the site to the southwest corner of the site. And that's something that's probably really unique to the facility as a helipad, not to many places in town.
What we really want to hear in Lake City, Florida, and Columbia County is pediatric department.
We actually do serve a large number of pediatric patients through our emergency department. You know, pediatrics is one of those specialties that you really need to know really well. And we are blessed in the community to have Shands UF that serves that population well, also Wilson's in Jacksonville. But we see probably upwards of over 6,000 pediatric patients a year in our emergency department. And then help those that need admission. There's not a lot of admissions for usually pediatrics. But those that need admission, we do help them get with it.
Good.
Yeah, welcome to.
Larry, do you need CDs? Right.
I don't need to see.
Okay. Approval of each of them. Any questions?
Has everybody had a chance to review? Do we have any questions or comments?
Any questions?
Well, certainly what.
Anyone else to address this evening? My goodness, looks like comments. Close.
Close public comments, yes.
All in favor?
Can I ask them?
Yeah, in addition to regular city departments signing off on this, because this does involve a helipad expansion,
Yes.
has the city received FAA approval for this aviation resource?
That I cannot answer, Chris. I don't know if they have or not.
If I may speak, we do have that. I can provide a copy to you.
Okay, okay.
We'll need confirmation that because FAA don't fool around.
Oh, yeah.
You hear it? You
Yeah.
hear it out there?
These things go around.
At least when I used to have a license, that was true. Okay,
That's all I have for discussion amongst board members.
tell us, Marshall.
Mr. Lydic,
Yay?
Mr. Cooper, Mr. Nelson,
Yeah.
Ms. Georgianis.
Yes. SBR 2205 and SBR 2207 are approved.
Thank you so much for your support.
For those of you who still have SBR 2206, Walmart, there's no one here this evening to represent Walmart. We will pull it from our agenda. Next up is site plan review 2208, the West Fire Station for the city of Lake City. You again?
Yes, ma'am. I've been doing a lot of work for Lake City.
So, and you're already sworn in.
Yes, ma'am. So as a continuing services provider, the fire station was put up for bid. And as you know, the parcel was allocated from the Oxford County Library parcel to have the fire station on the southern portion of the site. I actually have a colorized version of that.
Well, we like those.
Okay. And as a cost savings measure, the winning contractor design build worked with the city to then have the city design and construct the site improvements on the site. So that's where they brought me involved with my experience with site utilities, because one of the key components of that site was there were large sewer mains that cut right across the site and also water mains cut across the site. And the location of the fire station that the Passero design architects did for that preliminary research required a big relocation of some of them. So when I took a look at the site, trying to think about ways to cut costs, I pushed the building back a little bit, which saves replacing a whole large 15-inch sewer pipe that was going right through this footprint, which saved a lot of costs from that standpoint. It made the parking a little bit more grouped in the front, so you can see the parking lot in the front there, where before it was kind of spread around the site. And it just basically cleaned up a little bit of the site plan so that it made a little more of the site construction costs a little bit more feasible. So that was sort of my role in it. That's been all coordinated now. They're ready for construction. We got water management district approval about a week ago, mainly because the city and county, when they transferred the property, it was just a basic simple deed. And the water management district wanted to see an agreement between the city and county as far as the stormwater pond that's on the county property and making sure that the rights of the city to discharge to that pond would be maintained. So I'm working with the city attorney and the county attorney to finalize those easements, if you will. But the site plan approval is approved. We have water management district approval, and that's mainly just to make sure that any loose ends from a legal agreement standpoint for the city and county gets cleaned up. I think that pretty much summarizes where we're at. We're just coming to you for official site plan approval before construction starts out there. We're ready to go.
I remember sitting in on some of the meetings with Passero and the late chief on this one.
The chief, yes, that was hard for all of us. I mean, I can't imagine you all.
And I remember one of the conversations we had, the late chief said he really wanted a 2-story building with a brass pole. But that can accommodate this?
No.
No. That was his wish.
There's cost to brass. Brass is really expensive. Yes.
All the money is.
Yeah, it's the pole that's gonna cost.
Oh, right, not the second.
Not the second story or anything. I have no questions or comments, Madam Chair.
Further comments or questions?
No.
Anyone further comments? There being no further comments, may I have a motion to close public comments? We're not.
We're not.
Public comments are closed. Motion to approve SBR 2208.
Give them their fire station.
Yep, we need another one. Down that way.
You want to tell us, Marshall?
Mr. Leidy,
Yay.
Mr. Cooper,
Yeah.
Mr. Nelson,
Yeah.
Ms. Georgelis.
Yes. Site plan review 2008, West Fire Station is approved. For those of you who are planning and zoning, that was the last item to be on our agenda, except for our workshops. So anyone who needs to leave now, please feel free to honor our feelings. If you want to stay for our workshops, you're more than welcome. Well, I guess you told us, didn't you? We'll see you again later.
Right, you'll take revenge on later. Yeah. Y'all have a good day.
Okay. And the discussion items will be as brief as possible on them. We'll revisit this when we get a little further in. In your LDR, which you were given last time, section 3 are administrative items. As we all know, we are a 7-member board with staggered terms by year. So we'll always have a quorum. We are not up to snuff at this point. We are still missing members. We have one new member who should be coming on next month.
Do we have a name assigned to that?
Yes.
Are you at liberty to let that name out?
Marcia, can we give out the name?
Yes, ma'am. It's James Carter.
The elder or the younger?
I don't know. I've never met him.
I don't have one.
You got issued one of these books.
You have to give it.
Uh-oh.
I didn't get
If it,
We didn't know whose book it was, but we.
that may have been one of the individuals that I recommended. Go get an application for.
where is it now?
Marshall has it.
Marcia had,
Should be in my office.
okay, the office gonna be open later this evening.
You left the books in the classroom?
I probably didn't get that. Get it.
So we are working very hard to get ourselves back up to full power, which is 7 members. Some of the items that we will need to discuss, we don't necessarily need to do them this evening, is we need a codified set of guidelines for this and for all of our boards. We will slowly be putting those together. One of those items is Robert's Rules of Order. One of them is why we do certain things. In planning and zoning, we, as we all know, we're in a housing crunch and Lake City is growing. New developments will be coming in of substantial size, for Lake City substantial size, that being 50 or more homes. The impact to the city and to the larger community and the smaller community are things that we have to take into our heads. This is not something that Marshall and the city employees were trained to read the rules and understand, is it within the rules, procedures, and guidelines? This is outside their limits. We're going to have to begin to take those items into our consideration. With the school board, we had a brief discussion last go round with the school board. There was a lot of ups and downs about it. This is one of the items that the school board needs to be apprised of. They may be getting their information from somewhere else. They may be interested in some of the things we're doing. The impacts, when we approve or disapprove a significant development, it has impacts on our school system. They probably need lead times. We do have a representative from the school system here this evening. Introduce yourself.
My name is Andrew. I'm the Director of Purchasing and Risk Management. My name is Keith Hatcher. I'm the Director of Purchasing and Risk Management for the Columbia County School Board.
Okay,
But here,
Keith will be our representative for the school board. We would like very much if the school board member sat on the board so he's aware of what's going on. At a minimum, we need, when we have a significant project coming on board, we need to advise Keith of it, let him look at it, run it through the school board, and come back to us with a definitive recommendation, or this is problems that the school is going to have. We have one coming up in the relatively near future that will almost surround one of our schools.
a development.
A development coming up that will almost surround a school. The school board really needs to look at that one. And we need to make sure on that one when it hits the boards. It's not here yet.
So are you recommending that the school board liaison be made a full-time member and we expand this board from 7 individuals to 8 individuals?
No.
With that individual having a vote?
No, I am recommending that if this individual who is on the school board would like to apply to be on this board, that you run through everything and it'd be wonderful. If he cannot be on this board, then it is the alternate. We give him advance notice. He's more than welcome to sit anytime he wants to. All public, it's a public meeting.
Yep, any of those seats are available.
Anybody. But at a minimum, we would give him advance notice of what's coming up. So the school board could look on it and bring us back that information.
Would we be beholden to take the advice and counsel of school board in our deliberative process?
Am I beholden to take?
Nope.
Then you've got your
I
answer.
just want it on the record,
Then
Madam
you have your
Chair.
answer. Then you have your answer.
But sometimes our board may not make the decision that the school board wants to hear. And I wanted that on the record.
That is one of those esoteric items that are going to be in this. And we're going to have to use, just like our invocation today, we have to use the information we have to make sure it's in the best interest of the community.
So in your
Even
side,
if it's a county commissioner who wants it, is it in the best interest of the citizens?
so like, for instance,
I'm sorry?
they're building 50 houses around a school.
Yeah.
For instance. And his recommendation will be possibly what? Build a new school if they can't accommodate all the kids?
With traffic and safety of the kids. How will traffic going to impact that school? Is the school going to have to make changes?
So there'll be different categories
Oh, yeah. Oh,
with
yeah.
respect to, say, something like that gets approved by this board, then we'll need to address all those different categories and make sure that it's feasible.
That will be the school board's job. They will tell us, we've got a real problem with this development, and it'll be on the public record that it's coming from the school. This will be a real problem for us because the increased traffic, there's only 2 roads in and out of the school. This development is going to totally encompass it with 50 houses, 2 cars per house. That's an additional 100 cars. At 8 o'clock in the morning and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we've got a real problem.
So that will have to be addressed along with any other categories.
So the developer, we lay it out for him, that's a problem. And can the developer solve this, or?
Now, Madam Chair, a little clarification. When you say that the school board representative will be given advance notice, is that advance even beyond when we get our agenda packs and the public gets notice of an agenda through public forum? Will the school board be getting an advance?
We get our packets only days before.
So in theory, the school board will have seen this for up to weeks before we even know it's on our agenda. Not always.
But if it is of this significant in nature, yes, they will be given, the moment it hits Marshall's office for a permit. We've got one out west of town, so that may wind up in the future. It may or may not come to fruition. But one of them is pretty firmly in the works and the other one is partially in the works. But when they bring their formal paperwork in, the notification would go to the school board
That's
on my proposal.
smart.
Would we be CC'd on that email as members of
Sure,
this board?
if the board would like to be noticed on those items, that's perfect.
I think it's advisable that we all get noticed at the same time just for the legalities of things.
Excellent. Are we all in approval? We're gonna write this down.
Is one of these,
And it will be written as a separate sheet at our next meeting for us all to read it.
Yeah, so we can draft up some language and look at it. And we're under approval or disapproval at the next meeting.
maybe refusals coming, maybe, so is one of them, Sweetwater?
Yeah, times are changing.
Mm.
We're here to serve the citizens, and it's our time to work. And well, what we're doing, and we need to be proud of our jobs and look out for our community at both the macro and the micro. Because some things that may be good for the big city may be horrible for the people within a block of where we're living. We need to take all of those things into consideration.
It's a lot to consider,
It is.
every aspect
It
of a
is.
project like that.
What we do here is, if it wasn't important, we wouldn't be here. And we need to give it the respect that it deserves for being important. And hopefully we will have one new person on board. So we will be up to 5 by the next meeting. And we still have 2 more seats to fill.
The gentleman that.
Resigned due to illness.
And Mr. Adele was a veteran of this board for what, 25 year?s?
At least.
He was on it for a while.
That's awesome. I miss that.
I guess that makes me the old guy on the block. I got 12. Heck yeah, I do. Earned every one of them.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I do have one question. Are y'all gonna draft the language of what y'all wanna put in?
I'll come down and work with you, Marcia.
Okay,
And I'd say we should probably have it run through the city attorney before it comes to us for review, just in case there's some issues that right off the bat, he can say, that's gonna be an issue, that's gonna be an issue. Change that will to shall, change that shall to will.
Or do we need to run it through our attorney? Because we were told by the city attorney that he was not our attorney.
I would think that anything that crosses the city-county divide and doesn't exclusively deal with this board would probably be of a superior nature and would have to go through the city attorney.
I'm talking about our attorney that we hired.
Well,
One refused to deal with us. You know. Attorney
Is our board attorney authorized to draft stuff that's going to leave the city and go and end up on a county desk?
Why did we need an attorney to serve them?
I don't know.
I think we need a third attorney to answer that question. That attorney,
Attorneys are like nuclear weapons, y'all.
did we wanna have any comments about his opinions toward?
What are your thoughts on planning and zoning?
Well, I know that the present requirements are that whoever serves on the planning and zoning board be a resident of the city. I think that if, the board is going to consider an expansion of not the board itself, but who's on the board, I think that it should be proposed to the council that proposed provision be waived in certain circumstances. I was a resident of the city for 16 years before I moved for job purposes, per se, out of the city into the county where I could be closer to work when I was principal at Fort White High. So, I think there are some ways of doing that. There's a provision that the council can waive certain requirements that this board has. In addition, I believe that there are certain times when you may want to consider someone's expertise in a certain area, such as having worked as an employee of the school board for 36 years, looking at that expertise versus where I actually reside. And that goes for anybody, not just me. Anybody that comes after me, certainly I think that that if we're going to get the input from employee of the school board, that needs to be looked at, not necessarily where he or she lives. That's my 2 cents worth.
Oh, no, everybody has this list,
Yes,
so we know who we are and how to qualify in case we need to. When this board was originally formed, it was brought on board as a 7-member board. Staggered years, but all with the same month. So that in X of every year, somebody was being replaced, but no more than 2 members were lost in any one year. We're staggered all over the place now. I believe when Mike Williams was here and he met with the board and did some changes and y'all came on board. Larry and Greg came on board. That everything was adjusted to be October. So everybody's back to the same point in time.
so
Mike told me, because I was ready to hit the road, Mike told me that I couldn't leave until October. So we're going to be verifying that. And we also need to identify who's in what seat, because some started out 1 year, some started out 2 years. Like right now, Larry runs out in 24. Greg, you run out in 23.
okay,
So see, it's staggered by year.
sure. 2
When,
years for me.
right, it's by year. And so if we all are back to October being the replacement date, Chris is also in 23. So the 2 of you are up again in 23.
Okay.
We're going to have to somehow identify so that these dates travel with the position that we are filling, rather than the individual who's filling it. So we need clarification on that, and we'll get clarification on that also. And we'll have an answer to that at the next meeting.
Someone has a lot of homework.
What do you think it'd be?
I don't know.
Volunteer?
You raised your hand.
Okay. So are there any other
So
discussions?
is it 6 or is it 7? Or you want to increase it to 7?
Well, it's supposed to be
It's
7.
supposed to be 7. Supposed to be 7.
It's supposed to be 7. And we were down to 3 for several months last year. And now finally we're back up to 4. But if anybody gets sick, we can't have a meeting. Are there further items that need to be discussed with planning and zoning?
So Mike approved me and him
No, the city council,
The board voted for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, the council voted for you, I'm sorry.
the council, city council. voted for it. And we were told,
Okay. So the same scenario will happen, right? There, does the manager have to be involved? Like Mike, he wasn't involved in it.
Audrey collects the applications and forwards them along to council.
Because my understanding, we no longer have one.
What?
City manager.
Right. That's correct.
Our city manager, the one they chose,
Last.
did not take the position.
Oh, I see.
So,
Search group continues.
so the search continues. Correct. And the new person who will be here at the next meeting, hopefully, he's in the process of all the paperwork going through city council right now. Otherwise, he would have been here this evening.
So the proposed new city manager.
The city council, not the big guys we vote on. The mayor and that group. They're the ones that approve John.
Really?
This is no freaky dink outfit.
I figured maybe they got the fire marshal and the librarian together.
So that's the quote that's gonna end up making the paper tomorrow.
If there's further business,
Move to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, planning and zoning is adjourned. Oh my God,
Man,
6:25.
if this, the board of Sweetwater, so I may have to recuse myself.
Definitely.
Okay.
So we've got to get more people on this board.
So board members can recommend free, they can get.
Absolutely. And you should access it. And you should tell everybody. You need to attend all the meetings, our committee meeting, council meeting. We need to. Don't just argue and fuss about what's wrong.
We did.
Stand out here and tell us we're a crazy bunch. Come to this meeting and hear what us.
So the board of people show us in the room and get followed home and threatened.
That's what, that's a little bit different.
And was it Fred, what's the city attorney, yes, he doesn't represent us.
Yeah. This board is. Yeah. Okay. Board of Adjustments.
Not the policy order.
You guys still,
We're going into another board meeting.
okay,
We have officially closed at
Tomorrow.
6:25 planning and zoning. We are now officially opening the Board of Adjustments. Same people are present. There is no business to be transacted.
Move approval of the minutes.
Approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. The Historic Preservation
Move
Agency.
adjournment to Board of Adjustment.
Oh, we did. Aye. We're adjourned.
Talk about Robert's Rules of Order.
Historic Preservation Agency will call order at 6:30. Same attendees, Marshall. We've taken care of that. The minutes of our last meeting, has everyone had a chance to look them over?
I did,
Petition. I stand ready to make a motion that we approve the minutes as submitted, although I do have one follow-up question. Mr. Marshall,
Yes.
were you ever able to get a follow-up for us in relation to parcel 138924 for which the COA for the roof 2133 was issued. Did you ever get a follow-up regarding the asphalting?
No, I'm still waiting on, an answer from Ashley Stefanik with the Swanee River Water Management District. She's supposed to have some of her people go by and talk to the owner. And they are also needing a permit. It's gotta be over 4,000 square feet for them to have a permit. So I'm still waiting on an answer from her.
Okay, and in reference to COA 2133, it was strongly iterated to the proponent that this is only your COA for the roof. Don't touch
Correct.
the yard.
Correct.
Very nice.
Yes, we've already told them.
My clarification is satisfied, Madam Chair. I move approval of the minutes as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Minutes of January 4 are approved. COA 2201, Historic Preservation. Elizabeth Griffin.
Hello there.
Name and address, please.
Deborah Griffin, 359 East Duval Street, right here in downtown Little Lake, DeSoto.
Do you swear the information you provide this evening to be true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you very much. Tell us a little bit about it.
Okay, all I'm wanting to do is, you should have a drawing of it there, is to add a, it's kind of a combination shed carport to the east side of the property. It's a third of the drawings there for 36 foot concrete with the carport to the front, so all of it's open. The back end of it would be a 10 by 18, it's 18 foot wide, 10 by 18 shed, so that I can put my vehicle that won't fit in the garage under the carport and have a place to put some items in storage. That's it.
And these are your colors?
So the home is a dark gray. My home is a dark gray with white. The yellow house next door that just put a new roof on is black and it's kind of toward that direction. So my thought was to go with a gray body of the building and to do the border with black so that it'll kind of match that next door neighbor's roof as well. Of course, my roof is black too, but it's going to be closer to that side. So yeah, that's black and white. What you just.
I'm aware.
Is that your home?
Yes, it is.
I knew that they just.
Yes, sir, it is. Actually, we've been in a year, February 10th.
Wow,
Yeah.
time flies.
Yes, it does.
So I see that there's 3 garage units there?
One is a golf cart garage.
Okay. And the other 2 are used for, I guess, storage?
Well, one for a vehicle and one for storage, sometimes a vehicle, but not my truck, which will not fit.
Big truck.
Tundra.
Now, when you applied for this COA for the carport and shed, I see that the site prep work's already been done out there. Were you issued a building permit for the site prep work prior to you coming here?
No, well, so I had them, because it was my understanding that I could go ahead and do the slab. That has to sit there for at least 2 weeks before they can do the structure, so I submitted the permitting. And then Marshall came for a visit and stopped any further work, which is where we're sitting.
So what happened?
And this is firmly within the shed.
So the people the handy house people, they contract with somebody else to do the concrete work.
So they came and did that?
So they just came and did basically just general site prep.
Oh, site prep.
Yeah, not a concrete.
Oh, yeah, site prep. So they checked it out, did the work. measured.
Yeah.
Is that where the
It's
15
ready to
foot-
pour.
is it setbacks, 15 by 15, is that the setbacks?
That's our setbacks. So the city setbacks are only 5 foot. And I'm doing 15.
Why?
Why? To mow around it.
Okay.
Keep it clean, keep the brush down, those kind of things.
Yes.
Hopefully nobody can hide behind it.
Were there any comments from your neighbor, the one that just re-roofed his place? I mean, has he voiced his, any concern?
He's fine. He's fine with it. Absolutely fine with it.
Are there alternative building plans than a modern metal prefab building that you could be going with? I know when you came up here for your COA for the construction of the structure, you've done very diligent work picking natural materials that were more in conformance with the theme of the historic district, but this appears to be a exceptionally modern, sort of off-the-shelf prefab metal product within the view shed of numerous historic properties that make up this district.
So it's facing Highway 90. And if you look at the building that's directly west of us, it needs to be condemned. It's just sitting there doing nothing. There's nothing historical about that building. If you look at the yellow house that the folks just bought, they painted and put a new roof on it. The next building is an apartment building that has been left to just sit.
And the next time they want
Across-
to do something to those properties, they'll have to come before this board.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm here.
You're the one here right now, and, you know, I'm looking at section 10.11.2 of the land development regulations, where it specifically says your design guidelines should follow U.S. Department of Interior, Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for historic buildings. And I can tell you, I'm very familiar with those documents, and modern prefab metal buildings in a historic district are usually not a recommended treatment. And I'm not trying to get on your case. I'm just saying you're coming to us with something that is, for a new construction, is certainly not in conformance with our land development regulations. Do you have the ability to possibly select a different item from this prefab catalog that may have less of a modern appearance?
I can't answer that. I don't know. I don't know what he has. But I doubt it because they don't do anything. If you're asking for some wood structure, that's not in their wheelhouse.
I think what he's concerned about, and I share his concern, is that you have a beautiful building that obviously is a year old and it conforms to the standards and what she's talking about. And then right next to it, you want to put up something that looks like it should be on a farm. Honestly, if there was something that you could do to make it conform to the standard that you conform to when you build your beautiful house, I think that the board probably would, and at least I wouldn't have an issue with that. But I think what you've chosen might not be appropriate.
The fencing that is not that I can guarantee that the fencing at the house behind it would even stay there, but there's no visualization whatsoever from the Lake DeSoto side for where the shed would be, no matter how we construct it. There's no visible, the only place that's visible from is from Highway 90 traffic. And across the street is a shed just like that in the back of between the store and Jeff Jerome's building. There's a shed there. Our mayor just put a shed smack dab on the highway, right by his building.
He's
He's
out,
right in the-
he's not in the historic district.
Okay.
You're right at the end of the historic district.
Did, when you were choosing this, did you consider other, I mean, you picked this one for a reason. Were there other ones that would meet perhaps better criteria for?
I'm not I don't build things like that, so, but
Like when you went to pick it out, did you say, I like this one, and this one, and then you made your final choice and you ended up with this one?
the design of it is more what I was after, which is the carport in the front and then just the shed in the back part of it. I didn't feel like it was gonna be an eyesore, but the design of it, I certainly didn't want to build something that the whole side of it was closed in where I had to drive around the edges. That to me would have been an eyesore.
I'm putting something very similar in a place on a lake down. I need something like this. I call it a pole barn. And I had one of the places that sell these.
Mhm,
They're building it for me.
mhm.
6x6 post. Metal
Wooden.
post. The posts are wooden.
Mhm.
The beams, whatever you call those, what do you call those? That hold the
Headers.
They're metal.
Trusses.
And trusses. The trusses are metal.
Mhm.
And you know those with those X's.
Yes, I know exactly what you're
You
talking
know the ones I'm talking about. And they understand very well. That painted would be more in keeping with what we're talking about,
about.
rather than this stark, old metal structure. It would be more in keeping with your house. It would look like it belonged to your house,
Mhm.
rather than sitting out
Mhm.
there. I think that's what the guys are trying to say.
Mhm.
Based on my prices, the price is very simple. It's not substantial.
Would you be against maybe checking it out and coming back before the board? And maybe having something a little more conducive to,
Well, I mean, obviously I'm at your mercy. Those poles are gonna be, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I've seen them all over the place anymore. I mean, they're gonna be more bulky. I don't know why we couldn't paint the poles.
I don't think just painting it would make any difference.
Yeah.
It's the design of the structure itself that is not in conformity with the theme or the integrity of the historic district or its view shed. I would say, you know, let's not do anything hasty and let's not vote this down, but perhaps, you know, she's already got some skin in the game. She's already paid for an application. Maybe if
We'll
we
be
table
meeting-
this,
We
you
will
can
be
come back.
meeting again in 2 weeks.
If
the
you come
first
back with
Tuesday
some
of March.
additional designs that are a little more in conformance with the style of the primary structure on the site, as well as the character of the historic district,
Mhm.
I think you'll find this board a lot more amenable than a off-the-shelf, off-the-lot prefab metal building going up in the center of downtown. And again, it's nothing against you. I
No,
just,
no, it's not
I don't see how we can approve this, given that it goes directly against LDR 10.11.2.
you have a beautiful house.
Thank you. I think so too.
I immediately thought when I read this over, that if you did a building that looked like your home.
How much money do you think I have? Jeez.
But I mean, that was my first inclination, that would look cool. And increase your property value and be like amazing.
I'm already upside down,
I got you.
given the things that are around me.
And they will be coming before us shortly.
Yeah.
We've only been enforcing these rules that were already on the city's books as it relates to historic preservation for about, really in earnest, about 6 years now.
Mhm.
And there's been a number of projects that, you know, there's a proponent just like you saying, well, look what I got on either side of me. It's like, well, unfortunately, they did that before the city was enforcing its own rules. They
Mhm.
were on the books, they weren't being enforced, but now we're enforcing them. Don't worry, they'll get their day. They'll be standing right where you're standing one day, and we'll tell them the same thing we're telling you. Everyone's gonna get a fair shake.
Good.
We really appreciate you bringing this before us, so we do.
Okay, so what do I need to do, get on the agenda for 2 weeks
Marshall,
Putting you on the agenda right now.
now?
administratively, we can table this and she won't get charged an additional registration application fee, whatever.
And what about submission of the information prior to the meeting? Email it to you.
Yes, email it to me and just get it to me as soon as you can. I can get it on there.
Okay, I can do that. And then also, the question about the concrete slab. Would I be able to go ahead and pour the slab and then build the building around whatever that is?
I don't see a problem with us approving the slab, although what if the building is a slightly different size than the slab you're pouring?
It's custom built, it's gonna be whatever.
Well, they do have wood.
Whatever size you for us, slab, that's what size it's gonna be.
That's right.
I see no problem with her pouring the slab.
Is that a motion?
Yes,
I'll second that we go ahead and approve the slab, but contingent on approval by board, we don't approve the actual structure.
and on the agenda for our March meeting, which is first Tuesday.
Great. Thank you. I'll see you.
And you can put some of those beautiful gray stones. That would be.
You guys love to spend my money, don't you?
You do that.
I heard that.
Okay. Wow. Okay. In your packet system, everybody has this one. One for each historic district. Big blue lines downtown, red lines Lake Isabel. These are the quote legal maps that we are bound to go by.
Recently updated. These are the new jurisdictional maps on file with the state of Florida and the master site file.
That's the reason I said these are the legal maps that we go by.
Although these maps here were produced as part of the submittal package to the Florida Division of Historic Resources and the State Historic Preservation Office, the dotted lines, even though in your legend it says proposed limits of district,
Right.
they adopted our proposal of these lines. So the dotted lines now represent the outside extent.
Well, that makes sense. As I was reading this, I'm like,
Yeah,
I mean,
these are the maps that
the
went
ones
with our.
before, I'm like, really?
So you'll notice in the old maps, certain parcels were literally cut in half.
That's why I was saying, really?
That was back in 1994, and I don't know what they were thinking when they did the first historic preservation study.
Hmm.
But the new district lines were adopted back in September? And the dotted lines now represent the outermost limit of the district.
Nice.
Now, we refer to, when we're talking about historic district, we refer to a viewing area,
View shed.
the view shed for that district. We need a very clear definition of how we treat those zones not within the district, but on the borders of the district.
With respect to,
They come before us also.
Do you want to know how federal law treats those?
I want to know how Lake City is going to treat those. This is a part.
Let me get to the part in Article 10 that talks about view shed. There is a section because we updated that. Okay, changes made to a property within the two National Historic Districts or other individually listed historic properties and the view sheds fall into one of three categories. View shed has been adopted as one block radius around the existing boundaries. Or in the case of Lake DeSoto, things that are around the periphery of the lake and facing directly into the boundaries of the historic district. That's how our previous Director of Growth Management saw that.
Okay, on Lake DeSoto, which is downtown, that is not what is here. The lake is not included with that, the historic district.
These are not view shed lines. These are district jurisdictional boundaries.
Okay, so
I can
within the view shed,
I can
the
get
entire lake is within the view shed.
Yes.
And all houses fronting on
the lake. Because remember, we had some fences come before this board. It may have been before you joined, but we had some fences on the far end of the lake And the way that David Young interpreted view shed, if you are interior and you're a landlocked parcel, view shed is interpreted as a 1 block buffer around the historic district, except where the lake is concerned. And then if you were standing on the back of the courthouse parcel, anything you could see on the other side of the lake would technically be view shed. That's how the previous administrator of this board directed us to deliberate.
As we discussed earlier, there are many things that we need to codify and put in writing. Or, this is an agency and not a board. We're now convened as an agency, not as a board. But we need to put some of these in writing so every new person coming in has a real understanding of what's going on.
And everybody's on the same page.
So, would you agree to the task of handling the writing of some of these?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
I literally do this for a living. I can update this stuff.
That's the reason I asked you.
Yes, I can.
Because historic is your job.
I can codify view shed both for addition to our LDRs as well as assemble some new maps that actually show the view sheds as they relate to upcoming projects.
Yeah, maybe do the view sheds in the dots
Yes,
and do these in the lines.
yes, because we no longer specifically need these maps now that those dotted lines have been formally adopted by the State Historic Preservation Officer.
Yeah. I mean, that would be helpful, wouldn't it? And that would give our perimeter of that.
And I think the old maps we used to have downstairs, there was a purple dotted line around view shed.
One other item. We have, Railroad Street, if you look at the downtown.
Yeah.
Railroad Street is the northern boundary of the downtown Newport area. Railroad Street was, I think, the only remaining original brick street.
That's the one they paved.
Yes.
And they paved it. If you go.
The street before you get over the tracks.
Yes. The last, actually, interestingly, the first vitrified brick street that we had in town, and the last one that still remained.
And they paved over it.
They had to brick it because the wagons at the railroad station were.
Are you back there, Paul?
I'm here.
Would you stand up and wave at us? Fantastic, nice meeting you.
You too.
This is our big boss.
Oh.
Okay. One thing that we need to track down, and a question that we have. Who occupies the paving of that street? Number one. Number two, can the city do whatever it wants within a historic area without even advising its historic agency about it?
Not according to the LDR.
Well, I know that, but I think we should formalize that question.
Got some things I'd like to quote.
My name is Paul Dial. I'm the Executive Director of Utilities. I drew the short straws. So I'm the interim city manager for the last month. To answer your questions, I would really have to look into all that because all that was approved last year during the budget and went through the process with Public Works and all that. So as far as all that.
The city is just like a corporation, they have to pay income tax.
Mhm.
The city needs approval of citizen for what it does.
Mhm.
We got no notice of that. There is also talk in the wind of moving, when you enter Lake City from the north, there is a nice looking sign that says you are now entering the downtown historic area. There is a move afoot to move that sign up to where State Road 100 intersects. Where there's a new Dollar General up there, that's not the historic district. It's the Amazon project. I am placing it on the record. So when it does come up before city council, they can't just say, oh yeah, we'll move that sign for you.
Oh, I agree, that's
Okay,
not,
yeah.
so.
I want what we're talking about now to get back to the city council is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, it would make sense to move that sign if it's not beginnings.
Especially not moving in the wrong direction.
Right.
If anything, it needs to move a little closer.
We had discussed in the past, because we only have 2 historic areas. Many people don't even know that they're historic areas. It would be nice if we could have more signs, like.
Before we get too far out into the weeds on signs, though, there are some additional issues we need to address with procedure. I mean, there's a number of things that have occurred and, obviously you drew the short straws. Unfortunately, I'm going to be heaping a lot of this at your feet. But it is stuff that needs to get on the record. I've had numerous irate calls from members of the local citizenry. I'm sure you have. Got calls from the newspaper where I pretty much had to say no comment. I'm on a board for the city. I'm not authorized to speak to this. I'm sure you've been placed in equally uncomfortable positions.
Yes.
So I do have a couple things I need to say to get onto the record. I'm not jumping down your throat. But like you said, you drew the short straw. So I'm going to read to you from section 10.2 of our land development regulations for the city of Lake City. This is codified city regs. It shall be the goal of the city of Lake City to identify, document, protect, and preserve its archaeological, historic, architectural, and cultural resources. Instilling public awareness of these resources shall be a part of that effort. Section 10.3. The agency, being us, shall take action necessary and appropriate to accomplish the purposes of this article. These actions may include, but are not limited to, and you get to subpart 3, regulating the alterations, demolitions, relocations, and new construction to designated property. Down to subsection 5, working with and advising federal, state, or other appropriate governmental agencies or other agencies or boards of local government. I think in this matter regarding the bricks on Railroad Street, we have failed in all of those aspects. I'm not saying it's on you. I'm not saying it's on anyone in this room, but it happened. The citizens are angry and
Very angry.
Yeah, I'm sure your phone's been ringing off the hook. I don't covet your voicemail. It's probably very, very rude. Can we get at least a tacit promise that aside from just telling us, oh, they snuck it into the budget, can you do some asking and be prepared to give a little more substantive of a explanation of what happened and what the city council and other city departments plan to do to take corrective action on this at our next meeting?
Oh, yeah.
Or make someone else draw the short straw and send them to do it.
I'll designate Mark for you. No, seriously, I mean.
Ooh, that bus looked heavy.
Yeah, Mark's been there. No, seriously, for the short time that I can hope to continue to be here, very, very short, there'll be several things, especially of that nature, that will be done differently. This was, like I said, I've inherited all of this for a very short time. And anything moving forward like this will go through the appropriate committees or whatever it needs to go through, will be looked at before things like this are done again in my time here.
Okay, and then, not just when, potentially destructive things are occurring, but also I hear a lot of talk about, taking into account the master downtown development plan and the island band shell or the peninsula band shell, whatever final form it's going to take. Obviously that's in the viewshed of the downtown district. That would be the kind of thing that even though another board may be spearheading it, whether or not it's, CRA or beautification, what have you, it has the potential to adversely affect historic values and integrity of the downtown core. I would like to think that would pass through our board before getting its final rubber stamp and approval and the contract being let. We did not approve all the trees being cut down, and that's.
I've also been getting some comments about that.
Although.
And who's going to take care of those ferns, the beautiful flowers when they're put out?
They've already decided on urns.
Have we had a chance to weigh in on the architectural features?
No, we have not. I will make sure that at our next meeting, I will have, Roberts.
Tina Roberts,
Tina Roberts, I will have Tina Roberts speak to us about it,
get her on the agenda.
because Tina is the one who pushed it through city council. And city council is very familiar with Tina. But they forgot, see, they could have just handed her right off to us. And we could have done all of that, but they chose not. Lots of things go on. What we're trying to deal with right now is not only the city is out there doing whatever it wants to do, and we find out about it later. Realtors are selling properties in the historic areas. They're not advising the people who are buying them. And the people who buy them say, oh, I can pay this bright turquoise. And they start paying it bright turquoise, and we fall out on the floor. Oh my God, you're right in the middle of the historic district. They didn't paint their houses in Lake City, Florida, bright turquoise. No, the contractors and people doing jobs, they have city licenses. They're just going in and doing whatever they want to. They don't necessarily pull permits. We have one property that the entire lot has been paved over. Who did it? Does the new owner, are they required to pay to have that stuff removed and taken care of the hazard? Who's gonna pay for it?
And it makes it almost impossible for us to, enforce these regulations on private citizens if the city is not even abiding by the regulations. I mean, you saw how difficult it was to have to speak with the last proponent on the agenda in regards to, that shed design. You saw, she said, well, what about the people over here? What about the people over there? She could have just as easily said, well, what about the city? They don't follow their own rules.
That's right.
It makes it very, very difficult for us to, help make this a burgeoning and economically successful downtown core and maintaining its historical integrity if we're not even leading off with our right foot.
Well, what I can do, I can get with Marshall, we can get with Ms. Sykes, we can see if we can get something brought up before the council to where anything that basically of this nature happens within the historic district that will need to come before this board before it gets approved or anything.
Marshall, did you even know that they had paved over the road?
I heard about it in the paper.
Did you even know that they were cutting down the trees?
Not until after it was.
When somebody goes to a city councilman, he's got to tell Marshall. They're bypassing us entirely, and the city council is doing whatever they want to do. Now, if they will wish to write that in, please do.
Okay.
Change their own LDRs. City council will do as it pleases. Citizens will follow the rules.
Okay, I will bring it up.
Fantastic.
All right.
You're a good man.
Not too much longer.
This
We
would,
have no idea.
Nobody knows.
we know exactly when it happened.
Do you know why they paved it? Do you know why they paved it?
Yeah.
I know why they paid
Yeah,
the
why
brick.
they paved over the brick? Why?
Why they paid over the brick, I'm not sure. All I know that it was approved in the budget to pave that street. I can't tell you why they paved over the bricks.
Do they have any kind of permit to pave it?
I'm not sure.
Who's responsible for making that?
Was that an outside contract or an in-house paving?
That's outside.
So this had to go all the way
You paid quite
through
a bit of money.
procurement.
You paid quite a
And
bit.
nowhere along the way did anyone think to say, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, this process would have started months.
I could have had a wonderful vacation on what y'all paid.
I've been
We
down
all-
that road a
we all
lot.
could
It
have
wasn't,
Great vacation.
in my opinion, it wasn't bad.
Vitrified brick will actually hold up better than asphalt.
I mean, it wasn't bad at all. I kind of liked it driving on that road.
Now, 60 years ago, when a large proportion of the roads here in Lake City were brick, they were either dirt or brick. I think 90 was concrete at that time.
Yes.
Yeah,
And 90 was concrete in 1922.
yeah. And, but when they started pulling up, they pulled up the bricks. And people were getting the bricks like souvenirs. But it was right out front, everybody knew it, it was advertised a little bit 60 years ago. Until we all almost passed out when the last street left. It was brick when I went to bed, and when I woke up, it was asphalt.
Well, we're obligated to defend stuff like that for the homeowners in this historic district and for people that we're working for.
It's not,
And that's part of the integrity and the values of the historic district, which we maintain.
all we can do though is bring, these are problems. City council, if you want us to do our job, you have to do yours. You can't just do whatever you want to do. We're your good right arm. We're out there fighting for the citizens and helping you. And they're cutting us off at the knees, especially for the historic agency.
I will definitely bring it up.
So there's no resolution to what's done.
Tell them that I can talk as fast.
Until he has a chance to report back to us the findings of his investigation, we're not going to achieve resolution tonight. But I definitely want the ball to be in the city's court to either say, yes, we are gonna follow our own rules,
We
or
want the ball.
act in.
We all want the ball. Not in our.
Because we can't do right by the citizenry if we can't get buy-in from the city echelons above us, that they're going to give us the tools necessary to know what's happening to these citizens' districts. So I'm done. I've said my piece. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, there was one other item,
I think you covered them all, didn't you?
and now I can't remember what it was. This was a quickie. We'll do it next time.
Okay.
Did we adjourn
We have not.
this work? Please, move to adjourn this work.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Third, second.
all approved.
Aye. All right, let's go home.